I'm Vanessa Louise. Welcome to Choose You, Choose Bliss, where we believe in one goal, one purpose, love. Through shared experiences, we aim to enlighten, enrich and enroll you in actively applying the tools and techniques to enable and continue healing for your whole self. Now is the time to take back our power, reconnect with our true selves, each other, including the world around us, and live life with confidence, purpose and joy. Thank you for being here. Thank you for choosing you. As ever, it's an absolute blessing to share space with you all, and today I have a real treat for you. Just for a moment, please bring to mind someone who means the world to you. You know how you feel about this person and how important they are to you, and that life simply wouldn't be the same without them. My guest today is that person to me. I've called this podcast How to Have a Bulletproof Mindset to Overcome Anything, because if it wasn't for her bulletproof mindset, we're not sure she would still be here with us today. So let's delve straight in and get emotionally naked with my inspiration, my confidant, my stunning sister, Abbie. Thank you for sharing your story, my darling, with us today.
Hi. You're welcome.
You're good. We're grinning at each other on the screen. We forgot to say something, didn't we? I always love chatting with you. And
likewise.
I, like many others, have actually been touched, moved and inspired by your journey over the past 4 years. Please do start by sharing where you were on the 3rd of December 2020.
Oh, my word. Well, this is obviously my personal story, and I just obviously, really hope to inspire going forward. But yeah, the 3rd of December, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, basically. I found a lump the previous year so that was the 3rd of December 2020. But in 2019, I found a lump, and I went to the doctors, and they sent me for the 2-week sort of process for they obviously thought it might be cancer, so they sent me for the 2-week process, and I went to the hospital and had all the mammograms and scans and all that sort of thing, ultrasounds, and it was they to cut a very, very long story short, they just said it was excess fibrous tissue. So I was sent away in February of 2020, and then COVID hit in March 2020. And because they didn't tell me that I should look out for anything. They didn't tell me to, if the lump is still there, to come back to me. Just said, it's just this excess fibrous tissue, just be on your way, kind of thing. And then when COVID hit, I still had the lump, but, we didn't go to the hospital, the doctors, for anything apart from having COVID, really. We sort of stayed away, mask wearing. So, again, cut a very long story short, I'll fast forward to October time, and the lump is still there, getting bigger and angrier. The skin was getting red and all this kind of thing. But the thing is, I didn't think it was anything sinister because they'd sent me away. So I then went back to the doctors, and the lump had got bigger, and it had grown to a 10 centimetres. So we're talking grapefruit size.
Gosh.
I know. And anyway, the rest is history. Come December the 3rd, I'd had all the tests and everything. Come December the 3rd, they said it's breast cancer. So
I remember that call. I remember that call. Difficult to explain. My heart sank. I went to go and see Mum and Dad. They were just vacant. Mum, I don't think said anything for 2 weeks. But the interesting thing about that 2-week period is that what happened next for you within that 2 weeks, because they then said to you chemo was going to start within a couple of weeks, I think the 18th or something. So you literally had 2 weeks.
It was, yeah.
Can you just share a little bit about the beginning of that 2 weeks that began, you sat watching Isaac play. He was 5, your boy.
He was, yeah.
Mm. And you were watching him play. What was that next 2 weeks like for you, sweetheart?
So it was, I had 2 weeks of what can only be described as pure fright, pure, I felt lost. It was really bleak, you think, crikey, what if I died? Do you know what I mean? And watching him play, I didn't want him to obviously grow up without a mum around, and I felt like I was going into a really big, deep, dark hole, of depression. I didn't know what to think, what to feel, and the thing is, I'd recognized depression because I had been there before in my early 20s, where through heartache and having a physically and mentally abusive relationship, and dealing with that, and so I knew what it felt like to feel very, very low and depressed, and at times not actually want to be here anymore. And I thought, and I was having all these grave thoughts, and I thought, I can't do this. I can't go there again. I can't have these thoughts. I can't be there again. And it was watching Isaac play. And I thought, I have to do everything in my power. Now, obviously, cancer's cancer, right? So it's that's something in your body that is kind of alien, and is can sometimes, give a grave outcome. Okay. But I needed to do everything in my power to take control.
Love that.
So, because I felt very, very scared, and I thought there was no way out. But actually, if I tried to help it in my mind, with my mindset, my positive attitude and everything, then I thought I can do the best I can to help this situation.
I love that. Do you know what comes to mind as you share that is the serenity prayer? God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Yeah.
And living with you, we were separated by COVID, but obviously in very close communication. We weren't in each other's bubbles. I know you well enough that understanding that the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, as you say, the cancer was physically in your body. That's it. I cannot undo where I am now.
Yes.
The courage to change the things I can, and you just identified, was everything in my power. I am in control of my thoughts, my feelings, my actions, and the wisdom to know the difference. So then just speak to us about how you got to that point, that decision of in my power, I have, and these are the choices I'm going to make. Because
what can
key.
I
what
do?
Could you actually do about it? Yeah.
Well, it was a simple choice. It wasn't necessarily easy but it was a simple choice. I know that sounds daft because there was similar phrases, but it was a simple choice, and it was a click of the fingers. And I decided I needed to find a positive slant on this. Sorry to swear, but shit situation.
Well, I think that's mild to say. But you're right. Yeah.
So I needed to have a better attitude about it, rather than feeling, because I realised that actually, if my mind was to go to that grave situation, then my body could follow. So I needed to really step it up and have this different perspective. And so I needed to be brave. I needed to be a bit bold. I needed to find those tools that would help me. So I started reading survival stories. Rather than all the grave stories. I needed to read survival stories. I watched videos. There was a video called Heal, which is basically how to heal oneself. Obviously, it goes deeper than that, but essentially it's about how to heal with your mind. I read for books. I read books with a positive slant to them, and again, survival stories in a book. And this one book that I read was a book called Quantum Healing by Deepak Chopra, who's a guru in this field. And I'm gonna read this particular phrase that I came across, which was amazing, and that was it for me. It said, "When you're feeling brave and invincible, your body is making neuropeptides similar to interleukin-2, which is one of the most powerful chemicals to fight cancer cells. So in that very moment, that was it. I needed the courage. I needed to be so strong. And I had absolutely unwavering faith. I've got tingles as I speak.
Me too.
That I would beat it. I had unwavering faith that I would get through it. So everything else for my body, that my body was going to go through, my physical body, like the chemo, the radiotherapy, mastectomy, whatever, everything else was just, that was the process. But I knew in my mind I would get through it. So I wanted to just, but it was just a choice, simple choice to make that, make that change.
That change. I love that, because isn't that something that as human beings, generally we struggle with? And I loved what you said about simple, not easy. I know that sounds contradictory because they're the same. They're very different. Simple is not always easy. Simple is uncomplicated. Simple is naked, raw, right? Easy is the opposite to difficult, right?
Yes.
So it certainly is a simple choice. It's not an easy one to make. But I love what you said about the fact that it was that quote, what you read, because you consciously made a choice. I don't want to die and leave Isaac without a mum. And in that flat spin, you made a choice to live. That was it.
Yeah, because feeling like that was crappy. Obviously I couldn't control what cancer was doing in my body, but what I could control is how I felt about how I dealt with it. I could be all kind of like, oh my God, I could be miserable and low. And, COVID was happening. I didn't have my family around me, like normal. Obviously people are on the other end of the phone. Support was amazing. Maybe we could touch on that later, but I needed to just do everything in my power to get over it. And that was finding silver linings. That was, it was basically, it was just helping the process. It was helping the process to get through the shitty times.
Yes, because the obvious is the obvious.
Yes.
Cancer can take your life, and cancer is something in your body. But I love the way you've reframed it. I wanted to do what I could, and I made a decision. Because you understand, I know the conversations we've had over the years and what we've been into with regards to a positive mindset and healing emotions and all the rest of it. We've been very blessed with Dad bringing us up on all of that, and had a very loving environment with Mum and Dad. And
yes, exactly.
We've always got on. We're very close. But it's a recognition that if you were to get wrapped up in the environment of what was going on in your body, of, oh my God, this is awful, then that's the way you're going to go. You knew the difference between that being a focus, or if I can help myself with my mindset and how I feel, I'm giving my body the best possible chance to heal itself, rather than being pulled into that void with the cancer.
Exactly. And I was on chemotherapy, so, was tired sometimes, but I still, you can't control what the chemotherapy is doing to your body, but when I was okay, if you like, and gone through the first kind of 4 days of feeling rubbish, I was then out walking 4 or 5 miles a day. That's all we could do in COVID anyway, wasn't it? I was out walking 4 or 5 miles a day, four or five times a week, because I was trying to do everything I could, whilst I could, if you know what I mean. And I felt like it was a bull in a china shop. I felt like I was a bit like, don't you mess with me, cancer.
I love that.
You know what I mean? Don't mess with me. How dare you?
Yeah.
So I was like, bull in a china shop. Right, I am going to show you who's boss, mate. Do you know what I mean? And
I love it. And just touching on, because I think this is really important here. You decided to be brave and invincible because of how the quote resonated with you.
Yes.
You were adamant, you were committed.
Yes.
And you were ballsy, bull in a china shop. And so that's the opposite of wishy-washy. You made
definitely,
and you stuck to it. I think the problem is, as human beings, we do, then we don't, and we do, then we don't, and we're consistent and we're not, and we're all over the place. but you
I was on fire.
You were on fire.
Seriously, when I had that cancer in my body, I was on fire.
Yes.
Yeah, my attitude was unbelievably on point. It was a kind of a surreal process, and I think because when the shit hits the fan, I do believe that's when you're really down in the dumps, you kind of, there's only one way up anyway. There's only one way to go, and that's up, brother.
Yeah, there's up or out. We've spoken about. So you're either allowed to take you out, or you do your very best to help yourself up. And you've touched on this before, is that you recognised in that place that you did have it within you, whatever that might be, power, strength, ability.
Yeah, I read a quote once, and forgive me, I can't remember who said it, but it was basically nothing or no one can take you down without your permission.
Love that.
And so that, and again, all that is just choice. It's a bit like if somebody gives me an insult, I can decide whether to take it on board or not and affect me. Did you see what I mean? Or I don't know, if someone says, "Oh, I don't like the way I don't like your singing" or whatever. Well, okay, well, thank you for that, but it's not, do you see what I mean? That's your opinion. And do you see what I'm just saying is we can take things on board, or we can just let them ride over us and not take offense by those sorts of things. And
all of that is a choice.
Yeah, it's all choice.
Yeah. As a result of deciding that nothing or no one could bring you down without your permission, you are now consciously choosing to read, to watch, to be aware of, to speak in a very different way that is in alignment to living and surviving or thriving, rather than the opposite of being sucked into that hole. You began to create an affirmation because you wanted to speak, you wanted to turn up the volume of what you did want, rather than, and by turning down the volume of what you didn't want to experience.
Yeah, so I liken it to a remote control. If you imagine you've got the negative talk in your mind, was at times, obviously, because it was a real situation, and the reality is of this cancer in my body, but so some of the negative talk was very loud, so I needed to get a remote control. If you imagine a sort of a remote control in your hand, I wanted to turn down the volume of the negative thoughts and turn up the volume of the positive thoughts. And so what I would do, and bearing in mind at this point, I was, looking in the mirror with a bald head because I'd shaved off my hair because I was losing it with the chemo. And so I would say to myself in the mirror, so I'm having to get used to the different, the way I look, basically, which is challenging, really, really challenging. And I would look at myself in the mirror and say, I defy the odds and feel amazing. My boob cells are healthy and my body is healed. And I would chant that over and over and over again. And I would envisage like little piranha, like horrible fish, piranha fish. I would envisage them eating away at the cancer cells. And
love it.
You see what I mean? And when you use those visualization tools, I think it really, really helps the situation, because you're kind of, you're just, in my mind, I was healed.
Yeah. And you're coming at it from all angles, with the way that you think, with visualization, all of the things that you've developed to help you when you come back to your simple choice, I want to live. Yeah. Right? And just touching on the hair loss thing, we hear this a lot with cancer patients. Cancer is what it is, and people have their own way of dealing with that. But we often hear that the hair loss is actually the bit that surprises them, is the hardest bit to accept.
Yeah, that was the thing that bothered me the most, because I always like to style my hair and try and make it look as nice as possible. And when I was losing it, it was very distressing. I was finding, I was in the shower and getting clumps of hair on the shower wall to stop it going down the sink, and that was horrible to see, absolutely horrible to see. And so, and I did try the scalp cooling machine.
Yeah. You tried everything to keep it.
I did try everything to keep it. Yeah.
And But is it fair to say, I remember a conversation that we had, is when you sent a picture of bald patches on your head, because your hair was longer at the time,
Yeah.
and clumps in your hands and a crying face, was fair to say it's really real now, because your cancer is on the inside, so it's not always visible. Whereas your hair falling out became a really visual representation of what bloody hell was going on.
Yeah. And, you know, when they told me I had breast cancer and they handed me the chemotherapy and hair loss brochure leaflet, that was the part, actually, weirdly, I was so distressed about. And, you know, and so to see myself, well, I had to get mentally in that place to get rid of it. I wasn't ready, even though it was, I don't know, I think it was probably about 60% gone. And I did have these bald patches everywhere. I needed to, and it went really, really thin, but I needed to be ready mentally to get rid of it, which is why I didn't want to shave it until I was mentally ready. It might have gone naturally anyway, and it will have probably have done, but I needed to get ready to just shave it off. Well, it was so distressing. I just wanted to get rid of it.
It's about being in control rather than being forced to.
Exactly.
And I remember we'd set up a group for you as you started chemotherapy, because again, we're all in lockdown. And in this group, you called it the Boob Army. I suggested to you that you had nobody was in your bubble apart from your immediate family where you were living, an hour and a half away from us. But you had Mum, Dad and I, you had both of my kids, you had best friends.
Yeah.
And there was about 17 of us. And I said to you, you focus on you, allow us to come together in a WhatsApp group to support you, rather than leaving a message for Mum and Dad, a message for me, a message for your other close friends, and you having to think about letting everybody know what's going on your journey. We'll bring everybody together into the Boob Army. We created a love book for you. So I compiled messages.
Yeah, oh, that's amazing.
I love this book. We might need to feature this another time.
Yeah.
That A4, A5 book was bursting at the seams with messages and pictures and gifts and everything that's stuck in this book, because we wanted you to know we were with you in tough times, the times where you were felt alone in the middle of the night, going through chemotherapy, all of that. So this Boob Army of guys and girls came together to support you, and you would just leave us a note in that group. Now, the wonderful thing about this Boob Army is not just that you had everybody in one place, but that we were inspired by you and how you were dealing with it. And I remember one of your girlfriends, the beautiful Jo Phillips, said to you, us in the group, and I've got shivers as I repeat this, I don't know how you're doing what you do. I just want to be like Abbie. And that became a hashtag that we all used of how can we be like Abbie? We were so inspired because it was a turbulent time in lockdown anyway for everybody.
Yeah.
And that became your hashtag. And Jo and Kelly and I and you got on a video, and we videoed you shaving your head, because again, we were in lockdown, because Kelly was
amazing.
A school buddy from when you were early teens.
Yeah.
She shaved her beautiful, dark, thick hair off with you while Jo and I orchestrated the video, and we recorded it. And Jo set up a charity page.
Just Giving. Yeah, charity page.
Just Giving page was led by her, and she wanted to invite everybody to be inspired by you, and she called that Be Like Abbie. At the same time, I know Jodie, my son, shaved his head as well. Everybody just
did love him.
Do what they could to support you. And I
can't. Yeah, go on. Sorry, you carry on.
I must just say, you absolutely rocked a bald head. I mean, bloody hell. It was amazing. Absolutely amazing. And the support.
I want to just say the support. Can I just say there that the support that everybody gave me was absolutely, it was amazing. I couldn't believe how many people were behind me and backing me, and I felt like I had so many champions. I felt like I was going through this whole process of surviving for me, but for everybody that was on my side, if you like, you know, it was absolutely amazing, and I will always be so grateful for the, for everybody, not just the boob army, but all of the people that
you had so much support, because
was
you
unbelievable.
Actually around that time created a blog, and I think your first blog was to shave or not to shave. But you had people that you hadn't spoken to for years. You had people coming out the woodwork, leaving you messages, and you would tell us on occasion that you would spend hours replying. You never let one message go unreplied.
I didn't.
To.
Well, it was 7:00 in the 7:30 in the evening. I'd put my son to bed, and then I just was in bed after that, just replying to messages, and I didn't finish one evening until 1 a.m. And I had some amazing support. I even got a message from somebody in America who was following my blog on Instagram. And she told me, she said, my mum was diagnosed last year with cancer. I don't know all the technical details. She said it was good they caught it early. She said, I'm just reading her message now, reading your blog has allowed her to feel comfortable in her own new body and allowed the rest of us to understand what she can't quite explain yet. Again, I just wanted to say a huge thank you, and I'm so happy you're on your way to recovery. So this, you see what I mean?
Amazing. For people you don't even know. And this is how you touch people, but how human beings touch people with being open and vulnerable and sharing honestly, openly, authentically with that vulnerability, because it touches people, and we hear our own journeys in what you're going through.
Well, my story, my personal story is breast cancer, but I had my bulletproof mindset because of breast cancer. But actually, other people have other stuff going on in their lives. So what do they need their bulletproof mindset for? And so to be able to write this blog, which was a cathartic exercise in the beginning, just for me to get it out all onto paper, for people to come to me. And, another lady said, reading your blog has given me so much hope, because she had breast cancer. And somebody else who didn't have breast cancer but was reading it just said, your blog needs to be turned into a book for the world to read. And, I'm loving your blog. You were born to write. And so they liked the humor involved in it.
You're very funny.
I just found it a brilliant exercise, but also I wanted to just inspire others to have that kind of mindset going through any adversity in life, really.
And also primarily because you'd felt a fundamental shift from going from I don't want to die to I want to live. And that black and white, that simple, not easy, simple decision that then led to you changing the way that you think, being very clear on the thoughts you did want to think. How did you want to feel? What else did that look like? Going out walking, getting fresh air, connecting with people, being open, writing a blog, all these different things were then able to support you. And
I think one of the other things, sorry to interrupt you, Vanessa, but one of the other things was you touched on silver linings there, and that was a big thing for me. So I think it's like you say, reframing it, and it's about the perspective. And so, I would do gratitude on a daily basis. So I would work out what I was grateful for rather than concentrating on the shit bits that were happening in my life. And I would meditate to stay calm, and it had to be all of this had to be a daily practice.
Yeah.
And one of the things was the silver lining. So I knew that obviously I was going through chemotherapy, which is not great, but I knew that was shrinking the cancer. So therefore I was concentrating on the fact that I had less cancer cells rather than get through chemo. And because I had cancer, I had cut down on drink. So I was concentrating on the fact that my liver was probably happier with me, and then, not having any hair on my head or anywhere else for that matter would mean that I didn't spend any money on cutting my hair, and I would get ready really, really quickly in the morning, and that was brilliant. It took me 2 minutes rather than half an hour. Do you know what I mean? So all of these things, but that's the silver linings. I could have concentrated on the crap bits and what was going on, but I wasn't. I had aggressive type of cancer, grade 3 aggressive type. But I heard that the most aggressive types are the ones that shrink quicker with treatment. So, of course, I was concentrating on that. You see what I mean? So
I love that.
Reframing it.
I was just about, you took the words out of my mouth. Reframing. It either is or it isn't. They're both on the different ends of the same stick. So yours was either death or life. That was it,
Yeah.
right? It is going to take you one way or the other, and you wanted to do your best. So by shifting your perspective and reframing, and
Yes.
I think generally, I know I did, but I think as human beings, often we can struggle with, yeah, but my situation is shit. Yeah, but I've got this diagnosis. Yeah, but this. Yeah, but
And it's not taking away the fact that that is
absolutely,
shit, but it's how
absolutely.
you view it.
But there is
That's the
always
key.
a reframe. There is
Yeah.
always a reframe. And the thing that comes to mind is Twin Towers, right? Just weirdly, why that comes to mind, because I think we all remember that was catastrophic,
Mm.
and was just awful. But
Yeah.
there was always, you could hear people saying, but in this, and let's not make it light, unlovely, the lovely thing was how people came together. So there
And
was
the
always,
firefighters, and
exactly.
yeah.
But that's the choice and the perspective that you choose. And I love that. That is a choice. Might not have hair, but I get ready quicker. I'm saving money, etc., etc.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
it. Um, you've touched on changing the way that you think, affirming your affirmation in the mirror, changing the way that you feel. Meditation was a big part of that. You weren't
Yes,
a big
definitely. Yeah.
meditator before, were you?
Not at all. Didn't
Um,
get it.
but most people don't,
No,
actually,
I
to
didn't
be
get it.
fair.
Yeah.
I struggled for years. But we were holding meditations because it was lockdown, live 6 o'clock in the morning and 10 p.m. at night.
Yeah.
And then when you were diagnosed, I was due to finish them. And I didn't, because they were helping you.
Mm.
Just share a little bit about changing the way that you think and feel, visualizing these Pac-Man piranha fish kind of eating away at your cancer, and diminishing that, and having your silver linings. How did you notice that changed the way that you lived?
Well, because I was much calmer. I mean, I think you'll agree, Vanessa. You've known me for all my life. I used to be a real stress head.
Yeah,
Honestly, I
yeah,
would.
quite
I would be like,
easily.
oh my God, a hair's out of place. You know, I was like, I was a proper stress head, you know, and
Mm,
I wouldn't go out into I didn't like, well, I would, but I didn't like going out into the rain because, oh my God, my hair's going to go all frizzy. Do you know what I mean? So
mm,
I was
mm,
much calmer as a person. And
mm,
although, you know, and I wouldn't stress as much. I was more peaceful in my mind. And I think the big thing about this is the acceptance. The fact was I had cancer. I had to accept that situation and move forward, and almost look, not give it love, but just look for the positives in life generally.
mm,
I was much more relaxed. uh I didn't sweat the small stuff. I mean, we were out the other day, it was absolutely teeming down. And I had my hood, my hat, and an umbrella, so it
mm.
didn't matter. It didn't
No.
matter. You know, that's not sweating the small stuff. I don't take offence as easily. If somebody, like I said, somebody pays me an insult, I don't mind, because that's their opinion. You know, so all of these, and it changed my personality. It has
Yes.
changed me to somebody that actually I didn't really recognise who I was, for
No.
the better, in my opinion,
Mm,
because
mm,
but I didn't recognise who I'd become, but I was much stronger, much more
mm,
resilient,
mm.
and you know, I had to be.
There was evidence in your life that what you were doing was working,
It's making a
because of
difference,
the
yeah.
way that you felt. Absolutely, because of the way that you felt, but also it was evident to us. And that,
Yes, you've said, yeah.
yeah, that was what I know kept mum and dad going. I know that was because we couldn't get to you, and see you. I know and it was so inspiring, and we just kept trying to put ourselves in your shoes and think to ourselves. And yes, we might not have had breast cancer, but if it can work for you, I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to pay more attention to this. I want to be like Abbie. Um, so the process was chemo,
Yes,
mastectomy, and
yes,
reconstruction, radiotherapy, and
yes.
then symmetry surgery. So you've had your right boob off twice and reconstructed both times.
Yes, because they normally do a thing where they cut open your tummy fat. Generally, it's tummy, and use the tummy fat to build a replacement breast, basically. But I'd lost so much weight, um, that I didn't have enough fat to use. So they put an implant in. I chose an implant rather than to be left flat chested on one side. And I got what's called capsular contracture. Basically, the scar tissue contracts around the implant. And so I had to have the implant taken out. And because I was very wonky on my chest area, one was down here and one was up there. They took the implant out when the capsular contracture happened, and then gave me symmetry surgery on the natural side. Now sadly the same has happened a year later, a year and a bit later. So I'm now booked in to have another surgery to take the implant out for good. But I have grown myself a lovely tummy by eating lots of chocolate, which I like very much indeed.
Cultivated the fat to be able to put in your boob.
Oh yeah, basically, yeah.
I did lend you mine
in layman's terms. Sorry?
I did offer you mine, like many
lots
people
of people
did.
offered me their fat, actually.
Yeah, but it's
so anyway, yeah. So I've got enough now to build a new boob on the right hand side. So I'm hoping that that's the last resort, because that's kind of like the ongoing stuff that's going on for me here.
And it keeps it supernatural. It supernatural.
Yes,
and
which I would have chosen in the first place if I had enough. Yeah.
And you've had the all clear. A couple of years in, or a year or so in, and then all of this has been ongoing. So even though you are clear, and we're very grateful, but you've always got ongoing complications going on because of the treatments, preventative and the type of cancer it was, and it's forced you into menopause and all of that. I was a lot.
Yeah, I was pushed into early menopause anyway. Now I'm on a preventative treatment, so that because I think I was quite high, or I am supposed to be quite high risk for recurrence. So I'm on preventative treatments to keep it all away. And so with breast cancer sufferers as well, it can come back into your bones. So I have IV treatments to keep my bones healthy and to keep it away from my bones. I've actually got another surgery coming up next week on my throat, because the radiotherapy made my esophagus dilate, which is pushing against my throat wall. And obviously, as a vocalist for a job, I need it all to be working okay in that area, and it's now just starting to bother me a little bit. So I'm having a throat operation next week. Yeah, do you know what I mean? And then all of this went through. Unfortunately, I went through a marriage breakdown and moving house, and I've got a neurodiverse little boy, so it's protecting him as well, and it's all a bit ongoing. And do you know what, I think some people I think have said to me in the past, "Oh, you always seem so happy, and come on, you've got to admit when it's bad." And I do you know what I do admit when it's bad, and I have really, really down days, don't get me wrong, but the fact is that if I live in that mindset, I would be miserable every day. I've got pain in my discomfort in my right arm and my right shoulder every day, 24/7, doesn't go away. But if I concentrate on those bits, the pain and the hurt and the discomfort, then I would be miserable 24/7. And who wants that? I don't want that, and I don't want that for the people around me.
Exactly.
So it's choosing those silver linings. And also, I'm still here.
Yeah, and also, I love that. I could have been dead. I'm still here. I love that when you said that to me before. But the ongoing complications it is what it is as a result of where you've been and what you've lived through. And it's the same for anybody who is overcoming anything of themselves. It doesn't just end. There is constantly, life is constantly full of ups and downs.
Yes.
But there comes then the bulletproof mindset that got you through and over the cancer to thrive. And now, because you're practiced, you're then able to still have the opportunity to choose your perspective and reframe to help you through the discomfort, because if you fall into the discomfort and moan and groan about it's all a bit unlovely, it's all gonna turn to shit.
And don't get me wrong, sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but your practiced mindset and everything else that goes with that, visualization, practicing good feeling, whatever, all those tools that you have, focusing on your joy, doing what you love, being around, laughing. My God, you're so funny.
Oh, I love laughing.
You know, don't you? I got images of us sending messages backwards and forwards to each other. They're like, what on earth was that about? Who cares? We're laughing. Matter. Exactly. And it's not being flippant. It's consciously, again, making that choice, because I don't want to be sucked into the hole of the unlovely, whatever
No.
that is for anybody in their life, whatever is going on. I'm making a choice to choose the other end of the stick. So whatever you have got going on, we've had some very deep conversations about, right, come on. You know, we often message each other, remind me of what I know to be true, bring me back,
Yes,
help me
yeah.
come back to that place. And that support is massive. Today, though, you are genuinely and generally happy and you love your life
Yeah.
because
Oh
you
God,
choose to.
I absolutely do. And the thing is, I'm human. I have moments where I'm really, really down in the dumps. You know, it's real. Don't get me wrong. I mean, even one day last week, I was well, not just one day, probably a few days. I was right miserable. I was like, oh my God, you know, I feel probably hormonal. Damn hormones. But I was probably having a hot flush at the time, going, "Oh my God, this is just horrible." You know,
And that flat spin sucks you in really quickly, but also you know how to come out of it.
It does, but I know how to come out of it. That's the key. And I generally and genuinely, love life. You know, I know that if ever I have a down moment, I know I can get out of it. That's the thing. I know how to do it. I fall off the perch like we all do sometimes, but I know how to get out of it. So 80% of the time I'm generally okay, 20% of the time I'm not, you know, but I just know how. And it's not ignoring the tough times. I don't ignore them.
No.
I just choose not to dwell on them. I make that choice.
There's that choice again, the simple choice of black hole being sucked into that, or am I choosing life? And a beautiful life you have now.
I do.
I've met the love of your life.
I've got the love of my life, and we're planning to get married. He doesn't mind that I've got one boob. Do you know what I mean?
That was a big conversation we had when you met him. Was, oh my God, what's he going to think about that? And I remember saying to you, okay, this is going to be a tough one, but if he minds, then he's got to go. Right? If he doesn't mind, then okay, you've got. And he's an absolute dream come true.
He is. We're planning our wedding.
Yeah, it's so wonderful to see you so happy. You're so suited to each other, and of course now
and obviously my little boy and my family, you and the family, and my friends. Honestly, I could not have wished for a better circle of people around me. I'm so blessed. Again, that's what I concentrate on. The fact that I'm so blessed in life. I'm so grateful. I practice gratitude every single day for 12 and a half years. Every single day I have been practicing gratitude, writing down, you know, at least four things I'm grateful for with my gratitude buddies that I've got.
Oh my God.
Laura and Michelle.
That's another subject, because you're right. 12 and a half years is a long, I know you've been doing that because I remember where that's first started.
Yes.
And you do what you love with your singing. I mean, there might be discomfort and unlovely in your life, but the choice to choose to be grateful of what is working in your life. And I just say thank you for choosing to have a bulletproof mindset.
Don't cry, because you're making me cry.
I wasn't ready. I just wasn't ready to lose you, and that was my prayer when we first found out, is who can I be for Abbie? And that's why we created the support group with the Boob Army. We did Power of 8 healings, where you chose 8 people, and I orchestrated Power of 8 healings, where we would focus on you and your right boob for 8 minutes, chanting positive statements of healing.
Oh, that was amazing.
And I remember Mum and Dad saying, because we had a group of 8, because I did the WhatsApp call, you went in the group, but you knew when we would be healing for you, and you would ask us to do it if you were struggling. And I remember Mum and Dad saying, thank you, everybody, just because this is really helping us, knowing that Abbie is so loved. But we were inspired because of you and your choices. So it works both ways. So thank you from us
thank you
to you for doing this, because we get to still live our life with you. Adam has found his love, and Isaac has his mum here, and he's an absolute credit to you.
He's a puppet.
And I know you have people sharing with you what is it you're doing, because it's working not just for you but for Isaac through everything that he's lived through as well. So I just want to say thank you, because you are a product of your choice, and I'm so glad because you're here selfishly with me. Where can people find out more about you, and how can they sign up to your blog? Because I know that you are turning this into a book. I know that it is inspiring hundreds and thousands of people. Where can they find out about your blog, Abbie?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I've written a blog. It's called basically abbiesboobyblog.com. So Abbie's Abbies, Abbie's booby blog, BOOBIE blog.com.
We'll put it in the show notes as well. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And they can sign up to hearing from you from there. And your socials are funny as well. You share your socials, Instagram, Facebook. We'll put all of that in the show notes. I think it's really important that people reach out and just see you as a wholesome, wholehearted human being that just wants to share the lessons that you've learned. Having a bulletproof mindset.
Do you know, my feeling now is that I just want to share how to, like you said, how to have this bulletproof mindset with others. And like I said earlier, you know, my story is breast cancer, but everyone has an adversity happening in life, because, you know, basically it's not life itself that's the real cause of problems. It's the commotion in our minds, how we see it. You know, it's all about perspective. And so if you can have this bulletproof mindset going through anything in life, I just want to inspire others to have that. I really do. That's my aim. And so that's the whole point about turning these blogs into a book and embellishing, adding extra bits into the book. And yeah, I haven't quite finished it, but I will be soon. So yeah, that's going to be available soon.
You're a great writer. You're real. You share your heart. You're funny. And I love what you said about it doesn't matter what you've got going on in life, whether it's a big thing like you were dealing with, or whether it is just an everyday, my back pain, or, you know, for both ends of the stick, right?
Yeah.
The choice is always the same. The choice is simple. We either choose to reframe it and find the silver lining and know that we can and always have that power within us. If I can choose how I think and feel and the choices I make.
Definitely.
Regardless of the problem in inverted commas or the issue, the adversity we're facing, the choice is always the same.
Yes.
And that is really, really important for people to understand. Your final thoughts when I ask you the question of what would you say is your greatest learning in life, or the statement that defines what life has taught you?
Well, I've got two. One of them I think I mentioned earlier is that no one or nobody can take you down without your permission. And the other one is you never know how strong you are until being strong is the only option. And I just, when I read those, I absolutely loved them.
They spoke to you.
They did. They spoke to me. And then I've always thought, whatever happens to you, you can choose how you respond to it. And then the choice you make determines the results you get. It's that simple.
Amen. And I think that is the best
Full stop.
Full stop. Exclamation mark. That's it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
I'm looking at you and smiling at you, and I am just so very blessed that not only are you in my life, but you're my sister. Thank you.
I love you. Thank you.
I love you too. And with hands on hearts, thank you again for sharing your story. And I just want to say your life is beautiful, a beautiful example of what having a bulletproof mindset can bring to you. So thank you, sweetheart.
Thank you, Vanessa. Thank you for asking me to get involved in this. I really appreciate it. And it's been great chatting to you. Always is.
Always is. Always is. God bless, sweetheart. Love you loads.
Love you.
The invitation is to take a few moments to reflect on what's resonated with you here today. Let us know what you find. Share this episode with those you love to practice your vulnerability and enable deeper connection with self, others, and the world around you. May you feel blessed and loved as you live your days with purpose and presence. Thank you for being here, and thank you for choosing you. I love you.